camera, live, and mic. Yeah. Oh yeah, this thing again. Today you catch me, I don't know, slightly frazzled from trying to organize the end of my Celebi speedrun in Pokemon Go, which is going to happen tomorrow. There will be chaos. Shit, this should be on mobile data and no Wi-Fi. Never mind, I'm just still playing this game. 2256 I want to post, and most of the time I'm not posting shit in this game, but it just happens whenever I want to start streaming, I guess. That number turns up that I want to post that, and now it's a waiting game. So again, I just have the phone open here, just waiting and wondering out loud. Yeah, well, but anyway, good luck to me organizing this shit for tomorrow. It's gonna be a bit hectic. The problem is I'm relying on other people. That's always what makes organizing things difficult. As you well know, other people are difficult. The hope is that somebody is willing to just come through and help me out, but we'll see how it goes. If not, I'll just have to give up on my speedrun. Usually you want to do speedruns that don't involve other people. This is a slight problem on the part of this particular run. That's why I probably wouldn't recommend running it, but never mind. Celebi in Pokemon Go. Right, anyway, let's actually talk shop. So what does it say here? 25th of August, 10 p.m. We're doing Raft. We're doing a bit more Raft. I'm not actually... What I usually do when I start one of these streams is I give a bit of context on what I'm doing. But I think, honestly, I'm not going to bother this time. Well, I mean, I'm implementing something that saves a bunch of state variables when called, and implementing something that loads some state variables when it's called. And that's it. So it's completely independent of the rest of the program. Everything else is basically done. Once I've done this, I'm on to debugging. And so it's just like, I don't know, let's do this shit. And to be honest, this shit is kind of mechanical rote coding. It involves the saving state part involves serializing data, and reading the loading state part involves deserializing data. Much like JSON, it probably would be one line of code if we were working in JavaScript. But because this is Go, this is not implemented well. Go does implement some things well, but it loses out to JavaScript when it comes to some of the more basic programmer-friendly stuff, like serializing data. You know, it says here, it saves and restores from a persister object, and so all we're doing is getting data into and out of the persister object. So the save function will get it in there, the load function will get it out. So save Raft state and read is load. And that is, methods of the persister, so that code is already, the framework is there, I just have to fill in the code. It's a bit boring, that's why I'm a little bit, I'm not too bothered about this particular session because I'm doing something that's kind of just a bit of a grind, and I also have, clearly other things on my mind when it comes to organizing this speedrun. 11 a.m. tomorrow is when, I'm on world record pace because of the cycle, but 11 a.m. is when it kicks off with the end game, and it all depends on if I manage to basically get not carried by friends, but friends are necessary because trading. It's really a nightmare the way that they've set that up. I can't finish it by myself. It would have been fine if trading was in the step before. That would have been fine because I was waiting on a cycle anyway. So having trading the step happen during the cycle, I could just organize it over the course of 3 days. But having to do it immediately in the end game, ASAP, is just a nightmare. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But it's out of my mind now. Just when I'm done with this stream in about, I think, an hour and a half, I'll sort that out, and then I'm chill tomorrow. And what happens after that? Well, Monday, hopefully, I'm going to go to Notting Hill Carnival. Hey, hopefully. It depends. That also depends on other people. So again, my life sucks insofar as other people suck. Just put it that way. That's such a autistic thing to say, but sometimes it's true. Um, yeah, I don't think. Okay, so just quickly skimming over part 2C before I start implementing this. I don't think there is anything um, important here to deal with. I think Raft.go just contains a few calls to persist and read persist, so I'm not too fussed about that. And yeah, I know that a real implementation saves to disk, and obviously that would be a lot easier than using this fucking persister object. I don't know why they're forcing me to do that. But instead we're using the methods of this thing, right? And the persister object is connected up to Raft, and yeah, initialize from persister and save to the persister every time the state changes. No, it says it each time the state changes, which is interesting because I definitely skipped a few places where the state changed. Because I've already gone through and put in the calls to where state should be saved. It's just now I have to implement the thing that actually saves state. But I didn't actually put it in every state change. There are some I skipped, with good reason. Wow, maybe not. Maybe it was premature optimization, but I know what I skipped, and so if it turns out to not work, I can just go back and fix that. For the time being, though, that was yesterday's work. Nothing to worry about today. Now I am just implementing, whenever it's called, this is the method that is run. The save state and the load state methods. I don't care where they're being run, I care about what they do. And so that's what I'm going to implement now. It literally just says, load state from that persister, save to that persister. And this is the bit that we're doing because this bit I've already done. Okay, so here we go. Complete the functions persist and read persist in Raft.go. So this is the save state saver, and this is the load saver. Oh my god, state saver and state loader, that's what I meant to say. Add encode to save and restore persistent state. You will need to encode, serialize the state as a byte array. For whatever reason, the string was not good enough. In order to pass it to the persister, use labgob to do that. See the comments in persist and read persist. Labgob is derived from Go's gob, but it has this little thing that prints errors in the case of lowercase field names. That's really everything that there is to say. This optimization, I've tried to do it. I'm not sure I've done it right, but the final debug is where that will be tested. And yeah, the rest of it's also just all about testing stuff. So yeah, let's just get on with it. There's really nothing to say today, other than I'm just brute forcing some work, and it's all routine bullshit. Yeah, it's bookwork kind of stuff, kind of thing, and that's the kind of thing that everyone in their life has to do a bit of bookwork. Okay, so if I twist, yeah, that's fading and that's fading, so happy medium is about there. Oh, God, the camera lag is not good in this light. I did say I would fix that, I don't know, couldn't be bothered, but at some point I'll sort that out. For the time being, it at least all works. I'm alive, the camera is still kind of working, you can see my hands, and the mic. I'll just bring it slightly closer. The mic level's pretty good, no clipping at all. Most streamers I see actually do have clipping, because they set the mic level too high, but I know enough about audio that that's basically the first thing that I think of when setting levels. Well, when sort of ensuring sound quality, the first thing you want to avoid is clipping. Okay, sick. I'm pretty sure this does not have anything useful in it. It's an old test path. So yeah, we're in the persister I think we're in oh no, we're in Raft.go and we're filling in the persist functions. You know, say encode it and pass to the persister and then decode, and we're using gob, whatever the hell gob is. We'll find out as we attempt to just YOLO this. Okay, so let's have a flick through the entire Raft file. So this file contains code mostly related to Raft's interface. So it says here import lab, gob, and byte, the two encoders that we're going to be using. I may as well comment these in. Later on, I guess I can just put them here, but for now I'll leave them here. If I save now, it will just delete them because the linter just cleans it up so aggressively. Because they're not being used, that's why they would get deleted. But hopefully soon I will put them to use. Apply message, log entry, all the timeouts, the election reset channel, the Raft object, get state, and here we have the persistence. So persist and read persist, those are the two I have to encode now. And then start, kill, and make, those are all done, I'm pretty sure, in this the minimum function, which I had to manually code because of reasons. Cool. So here. Persist. Still waiting for my Pokemon to turn up. My number. We're on 2256, as in 2254 has just been posted. So I'm waiting for 2255 to come through so I can post 2256. Persist. Persistence. Persistence persist. Save Raft's persistent state to stable storage, where it can stable storage my ass, where it can later be retrieved after a crash and restart. See paper 2's figure 2 for a description of what should be persistent. That's all done. Here we go. So we have some examples, some example code here. This is. Should I read through read persist first? Restore previously persisted state. And it's much the same thing as what we've seen so far. Okay, fine. Let's take a look first at the state saver. So it says here example, we have a bit of skeleton code to put us on our way. W is a new byte buffer. Bytes buffer. E is a new lab gob, as in a new gob encoder. So what we do is we encode variables. We e.encode variables. Then we e.encode another variable. Data is defined as the bytes coming from W. And then RF runs the persister's save Raft state function. All right, let's get a look at what the persister's save Raft state and indeed load Raft state look like. This doesn't even mention load Raft state in its code, but I'm pretty sure that is necessary. Or is it? Oh, it might not be because it just gets called with that data sent into it. Whereas this has to call the state saver, but the state loader just calls this after it's been loaded, because I think these functions are literally just supposed to be about serializing the data and then passing it on to like the actual function that does the saving. And in this case, the actual function does the loading and then passes it on to the deserializer, which then puts it in the Raft object. It sets the variables accordingly. So it's all about these functions basically intermediate the middle functions between the functions that actually interface with the persister objects, which is like saving and loading from hard drive, and the Raft instance itself, so the rest of the program. And what's supposed to happen is encoding and decoding, and that's literally it. So, I mean, I don't know. Okay, let's have a look at what save Raft state does. That's a good start, I think. Maybe there. Just nudge this down slightly. Okay, camera. camera, live, mic, sync. Minimize that. And then minimize the thing. Okay, so let's do it. What I want to look at is save raft state. Yeah, let's do that. So persister, I don't know if I should read through this. Support for Raft and this, which is project 3, the key value Raft thing, to save persistent Raft states, and okay, server snapshots in the case of the key value thing. We will use the original persister.go to test your code for grading, so don't be editing this shit. So while you can modify this code to help you debug, please test with the original before submitting. So persister has a byte array of raft state and a byte array of snapshot, as well as a mutex. Snapshot is presumably to do with the key value server. Mutex is just a mutex, the usual shit, and so I think the entire state is supposed to go into raft states. Okay, so it's supposed to end up in raft states byte array. Okay, make persister just returns a persister object. So we have copy, which does something that I don't think it particularly matters what it does. It makes a new persister out of the same thing. Yep. Save. Okay, so save raft state is what happens after we've encoded the state. It locks, unlocks, and assigns to the persister, which is a byte array. I think my eye might be a bit infected. It's tearing up and hurts when I touch it. It's not good. I really need to wash it. Yeah, so all that it does is it takes the persister and to raft state, which is this thing, it assigns whatever I just input into its state. So it basically does nothing, it just picks up the log, puts the thing in the persister and then drops the log. It's really nothing interesting there, and it's the same with this function. See, it picks up the log, pulls out the state, and then drops the log, and returns it, whereas here, here it's in the state is in the arguments, and then it gets assigned, whereas here there's no argument. There are no arguments. No argument. It pulls out the state and then returns it, so it's just none of the encoding happens here. But basically, we need to be sending a byte array into this function, and we need to be pulling a byte array out. Well, here in the core signature you can see the byte array. And these are serialized. So I mean, I don't know. I can't tell if this is trolling me or if literally the code is just this, just without the comments, in the sense that I do this and this should work. I'm not encoding anything for the time being, but I mean, I know which variables I'm supposed to persist, like current term. Where do I put my phone? It's getting in my way. It's down here. Current term voted for, and the last one is log. I mean, E declared and not used. That's an error. It's a new encoder, so E is a new encoder for W, so I run the encode method on this encoder, and so then in the bytes buffer I end up sending all this stuff. I think there is a fixed order in which things go, and so if I'm decoding I have to decode in reverse order, I think. Let's do that. So the example code here is saying, alright, so we have a new byte buffer constructed out of data, and then I have a new decoder as well. And then what is this talking about? So, oops. Discord, please. This phone is just too big. I can't rest it anywhere. Here? No, this is sort of okay. Yeah. Yeah. So the data comes through in the form of data. Here you can see the state variables are all getting assigned. So current term voted for, and what's the other thing? Log ZZZ. Those are the three variables that are persisted, always. And so it's like, how does the decoding work? Well, we decode with, oh, okay, I see what this does. This is running decode that just pulls the next thing out of the byte buffer array and then assigns it to that variable. And then it says, okay, if it's not nil, or the next one is not nil, or the last one is not nil. Oh, but that's because I say nil, because nil is, this thing returns a non-null value if it has an error. And so there's some error code here. Like, it just says error. I mean, I don't know what error I should do here. Maybe just print debugging something, but like, generally speaking, yeah, this is just, could not fetch all the data, is what this is. Else, and then it just assigns them in the correct order. So X, 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 Y, 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 and Z, Z, Z are the order that they come through. So, okay, let's give them names. And yeah, I'm gonna just name them in the reverse order, because I think that I'm not sure if this byte buffer and encoder and decoder treat the array of bytes as a queue or a stack. So I'm not sure if it's first in, first out, or last in, first out. Yeah, one or the other of those. So I'm not sure which way around it is. All that changes is in which order I assign, the freshly decoded thing onto the end of the next thing, basically. So that's the only thing that changes. Okay, I have to declare types. Int voted for is an int, and log is like an array of what is it an array of? It's an array of log entries. So which order are we actually decoding in? I'm going to first try the stack order, which is last in, first out. Because I just imagine it as kind of moving data from like one pile into another, and then that pile back onto the first one, and then order gets reversed in that context, and so it's sensible to do last in, first out, but this could well be wrong, in which case I'll just do first in, first out. If data's nil, then just return, don't do anything. Else, yeah, print an error. I don't even care what I print here. I'm just gonna put like decode error. Yeah, I mean that's it. That's literally. I don't think. Let's just run the test and see what happens. What is the test that we're trying to pass? The basic persistence test. So it's gonna be 2CA, and then the remaining ones. Okay, let's see what happens. Go test run 2CA. Initialize the session first, and then go test run 2CA. No tests to run. Have I not numbered the tests? What have I done? So it says here, 2B. Oh no, it's because it's called 2C1, not 2CA. So that's a bit silly of me. Silly boy. 2C1. Wagwan. Lol. Decode error. Okay, what's going on here? Fuck apply error. I don't care about that. What's the problem here? So I have, a triple check. Okay, do you know what? I'm just gonna guess that the error is that it's actually first in, first out rather than last in, first out. I'm just gonna fully guess that without doing any further debugging. Think I was right? Told you. Okay. It was first in, first out after all. Not a problem. See, it took me 1 second to debug that because I knew I was making an arbitrary choice. I mean, that's it. I don't think that there's anything to say about that. There's nothing more to do. It passed the test. So, I don't know. Let's just hope that it's working correctly, and I don't know. Let's run the next test. So it's just doing some persistence stuff, and there will be some like actual benchmark type tests, like some stress tests towards the end, I think. But we'll see. We'll see what that's about. It managed to pass that after a whole 20 seconds. That's a long time in it. Let's one thing I want to do now is test the 2B test and see how fast they run now. Because I would have slowed them down somewhat by including persistence in the first place. That will slow down the program. So let's see if it still runs reasonably fast. So the program was running on average about 41 seconds it was taking to do these tests. So I'm gonna see if I can do the tests in, and I'm hoping for 50 to 1 minute. Let's just see what happens. Seems to have slowed down, or maybe I'm just reading too much into it. It just kind of seems slightly slow, slightly sluggish compared to what it was. So this test that we're looking at now, that this used to take 18 seconds. I think 16 to 20. Um, so that's a way we're going to be able to look at how much it's actually slowed down. Okay, it's not slowed down much at all, if at all. 42 seconds it passed. Um, okay, let's do the 2A test. These are supposed to take about 20 seconds. Was it really 20 seconds? I can't remember. If I don't want, I can disable the persister if I, 12, 13 seconds. I can actually disable the persister if I want to, get back to the old test behavior without saving to this random object thing. That's totally cool. Man, yeah, this train has just come to a halt again. Nobody is posting this 2255 CP Pokemon. I want to post my freaking muck. Please let me post my muck. My muck is cool. Yeah, this shit seems to be working fine. Go test run 2C. I'm gonna do it. So this is about 39. Yeah, I was gonna say because I saw that the split for test 6 was about 2 seconds ahead than last time. So looks good. Works. Is that it? Do you think that's it? Not much more to do now, really, other than run all the tests for part 2C. I might even leave early tonight just because I'm not because I'm trying to plan this shit for tomorrow. I'm not that in the mood to be working. Although actually, I'm not really doing anything for an hour anyway. So I guess it would be good to just chill out and maybe by doing some work. This was what I've done so far today was pretty easy, right? So yeah, let's just run the test to see where we are. Running all the tests for part 2C. And yeah, if this passes, the project's basically done. Like the whole of Raft is finished. Just saying. It's not finished because I'm gonna want to stress test it. Um, I'm going to want to stress test it to get all, to make sure to get it passing about 95% of the time, which at the moment is pretty good. It's like 90%, but I want to see if I can isolate those errors that sometimes happen. That 10% of the time. But yeah, those are the outcomes. I think I don't imagine this is actually going to pass. There's probably something I've done wrong. It'll probably pass some sort of like. Yeah, see, the third test is failing. Partition leader and one follower crash. Leader restarts, and then you have apply error. Saying commit index 2. Yep, commits. We've committed up to 2, yet server 1 is saying at position 2 103, whereas server 2 is saying 102. So they are all wrong. Alright, so is test 2C part 3, is that reliably failing? Let's find out. Yeah, we have ourselves a reliable failure. I don't know what this could be. If it, this could easily be an error with how I've implemented the persistent. I think personally, what I've done today is probably right because it's so simple. It's just encode and decode into the damn persistent, and those first 2 tests passed, which means it's probably working. So the problem is probably along the lines of where I implemented persistence, and that causing the program to not really work correctly. So, with that in mind, the next thing that we should do is debug. I'm just not sure. I'm in a bit of a mood where I don't want to work today, I have to admit. But come on, I should do at least an hour. Like that would be reasonable. Camera, live, camera, mic. Yeah, I think an hour of work would be reasonable. I don't want to just waste time for the sake of wasting time, to be honest. And so, yeah, let's say I work until 11. Well, what that means is we are debugging test 3 out of all of the persistence tests, where we have some sort of error in the actual. The thing about this, though, is, the commits are clashing. The commit indices are wrong. It's saying, like, commit index 2, there's a contradiction. And so that, to me, says that there's really a problem in the stuff I implemented earlier, if there's an apply error. And I know that it's not working completely correctly because every now and again there is an apply error in the part 2B tests. I have seen that happen. It is there. But now we have it reliably happening. We have a test that has reliably isolated the apply error. So I think just debugging this test, it seems like a pretty solid, seems good, way ahead. So yeah, I'm going to just, let's just do that. I'm going to jump onto Streamlabs and comment that I am now debugging. Actually, what I'm going to do first is just edit the sesh text. So here it says text camera. Camera text should be changed to say debug question 2C test 3. Pretty simple. Alright, let's magnify that up a bit. This doesn't allow me to really align to center without a lot of difficulty. I just end up with massive text, but that's totally fine. It's not even that big, it's just, size, maybe. What is that in full screen? That's like size. How many pixels? About 28 pixels, I would say. I don't know. Alright. Camera, mic, live, debug, test 3. Alright, let's get to it. So my next half an hour of work is just going to be debugging test 3. It seems pretty simple. let's go ahead and just run it with the normal print debug framework that I've implemented, all those print debug statements that I have in my original Raft code, the stuff I was working on for most of the projects. Let's just use those to see if we can identify what's happened. Well, the problem I have here is that I'm not, I don't even know where the crash happened. So it says here, partitioned leader and one follower crash, leader restarts. To tell you the truth, I've decided that my idea just now was stupid, and what I'm going to do is debug it properly by looking in the test to C3, and I'm going to put in debug statements in the actual test, okay? Because that's pretty essential in my opinion in order to figure out, when the tester is doing stuff, what happens. So let's do that. Test begins here. First we inputs one thing. So debug 101 goes in. Actually, I'll put this I'll just say test. 101 goes in. That's cool. Then it checks the leader and disconnects. It disconnects. Thank you, guy outside. Motorcyclists, the worst kind of people. It's disconnecting a follower. You see it says leader +2 modulo the number of servers. So okay, it has a bit of wraparound in case there aren't enough servers. But I mean, this is not gonna disconnect itself. In which situation does this equal itself? Answer mod 2, and so there have to be at least 2 servers. There have to be at most 2 servers for this to disconnect the leader, is what I'm saying, just mathematically. And so this is disconnecting a follower. Follower disconnect. Oh yeah, that should say test. And I'll debug which one is disconnecting. It's leader +2. Whatever that is, modulo servers. Okay, fine. I'll put in the modulo servers as well, so we know exactly what's being disconnected. Okay. Q. Test. 102 goes in, and the CFG.1 function. I remember that's it's as if it just inputs one number into the thing and sees how it handles it. So it doesn't pick a particular server, it just throws it in the algorithm and sees if the algorithm works normally. Alright, so this is where trouble begins. First of all, yes, we disconnect a follower and then run 102. Then we leader is force closed, crash, right? And we also crash leader +1, which is going to be a different follower, definitely, because we are assuming we have at least 3 different servers because of what I said about the +2 being out of scope. Modular arithmetic wise, it would disconnect itself if we had 2 or fewer servers. So I'm pretty sure these tests have at least 3 servers. This one has literally 3 servers. It even says it up here. But you take my point. We can figure that out. So it's follower leader +1 gets crashed. And then leader +2 gets connected. What does start 1 do? Well, oh right, no, because this is a disconnect, and so then we have start 1. starts, just restarts basically is what this is doing. So leader plus 0 restarts. Okay, I don't know why the linter has taken all the spaces out of this modular arithmetic statement. Right, so it does that, and then it also connects it. So I'll just call that restart plus connected. I think that needs 2 lines. And then we send 103 in. Do we know what this does? So like 102 to true. What do these arguments mean? I'm gonna just check that in a sec by looking at, go to definition of 1. So it's the command, the expected number of servers, and whether or not to retry, I guess. So if in case of failure. So here, it's all of the ones have like. So here we expect 3 servers to be available. Here we expect 2 servers because we disconnected one. Then that one gets reconnected, but we crash a different one. We crash 2 of them, and then reconnect and restart. So 2 go out and 2 come back. So we have 2 here. Yeah, that's the idea. Pretty simple. CP train. Well, yeah, 42 minutes ago was the last post. I'm still waiting. So I may as well work while I'm waiting, right? Economies. Alright, and then what? Then we restart the other one. Yeah, if we're restarting something, it always automatically goes into being a follower, so that's cool. Restart plus connect, and then then just 104 goes in. I don't see why the MIT didn't just automatically include these print statements, to be honest. But it's fine, it's just a bit of extra work. Alright, and now I'm just going to run the test and send the output into a file whose name is out, which is just MIT's convention, but I mean, I can name that file whatever I want. Whoops, okay. So where does it break down? That's the first thing I care about. Where does it break down? So just scroll to the bottom. It breaks down kind of, what was the last thing that the tester did before this shit broke down? I've not enabled test output, sorry. Debug needs to be set to 1. Oh, I did set debug to 1. Yeah, so it should say things like test in capital letters. What? I set this to 1. Yeah. I set that to 1, and so why is it not coming up? I'm using the Q function to debug test 2C3, which is the exact test I'm running now. And it's not printing anything. It should be printing 101 goes in or whatever. But it isn't. Let's try it again. Maybe I just didn't, I don't know, save the file, and so the debug, just a minor mistake on my part, not saving the file before I fucking ran the test. Okay, cool. So there are 8 test statements here. 101 goes in, 0 gets disconnected, 102 goes in, 1 is crashed. It runs test clear. That's funny. 2 then crashes. This works correctly, doesn't it? I mean, I lock the entire state object of this instance of server 1, right? I lock it, and so it will never work again. But then when 1 gets restarted, it runs a new instance, and so you can see it's working again. It says 1 is follower, etc., etc. So yeah, it's still working. So I mean, that's pretty much it. Let me just, go over it again just for memory. So it starts with sending 101 in, and that bit of the test seems to pass. That happens all the way up here. 101 goes in. Then we disconnect 0, send 102 in. That also works. Then crash the leader and like the follower, reconnect some other follower. Oh shit, go. Sick. 22552256. Yeah, someone posted the Pokemon that I was looking for, that I was waiting for. So see here, 2254, 2255. That satisfies the rules because it's a different person and a different Pokemon. Scissor, Mewtwo, and then I just jumped on that by posting a Muck. 2256. Muck Tech Cub. Muck Tech Cub. Muck Tech Cub. Cool. Alright, anyway, I don't care about this anymore. I managed to use up 10% of the battery just waiting. Well, the screen was on the whole time. But yeah, the battery's gone on this phone. Alright, so let me just move slightly. I have a dead ass. Position's still good. I'm still live, thank God. When I switch positions these days, I have the problem that the internet cable just falls out. It's just continually happening, you know. So I'm kind of just scared of moving too much. It's just unfortunate that I have to deal with that, but I haven't figured out what to do instead, so it's fine. Live, camera, mic. No, my arse still hurts. I can't do this. I need to move the. I'm just going to slip all the way down. Okay, I think this is a bit better. Oh, God, yeah. I just get a dead ass. Alright, we all good? Live, camera. I'm just kind of looking at it. It seems loosely focused. Let me verify that statement. That could be, I think, a bit better. I've probably not actually improved it, but never mind. Cool. Mic, camera, live. Does it go in mic, camera action? Lights, camera action, yeah, so I knew it wasn't the same thing, but never mind. Alright. Yeah, so I mean the crash is happening pretty much around here. Sorry, the problem is happening pretty much around here. Need a crash follower, restart, reconnect, some nonsense, God knows what's happening, and then we get an apply error. Okay. Server 0 sent in 103, whereas server 2 sent in 102. Oh God, I don't know. It's going to take me a while to figure this out because I can't tell exactly which what's supposed to happen. If we look at the test, right? So here in the beginning, everyone is working, and so 101 should get committed. So like we disconnect a follower, and then we send 102 in. But we've disconnected the follower, not a leader, and so the leader is stable and it should be committing 102. Leader crashes, follower crashes, so nobody is active. We reconnect two random servers, one of which was the leader, one of which was like the previously disconnected thing. And so at this point, yeah, 103 should also get passed after a re-election happens. Then we reconnect the other one, and 104 should pass. Yeah, basically all the numbers should be applied in the correct order, and so that means we can isolate which server done goofed, which server committed the wrong thing, right? So here, at index 2, we're saying server 0 commits 103. That's clearly a mistake. I don't think commit index should be reduced. Commit index is not persistent, so God knows what's going on. Alright, so let's have a look. Server 0 is committing 103 mistakenly. Okay, this should be 102. What happens to server 0 then? So let's flick through test. Server 0 is alive and well in the beginning, then it gets disconnected, okay? Here. And then 102 gets input. Fine. 0 gets reconnected. Its log now has literally just like 101 in it because it wasn't around to receive 102, it had been disconnected. So let's look closely at what 0 is saying. 0 and 1 are both followers. 0 was restarted and 1 was crashed, but 0 was reconnected. Okay, so 0 was 0 a leader? No, 0 was just a follower initially. Because the test disconnects a follower at the beginning here. It disconnects a follower. What that means is 0 was a follower when it disconnected. The leader, number 1, crashed. And the other follower also crashed. And then 0 was reconnected as the only remaining server. Then 1 was restarted, and it restarts in follower mode. And so both 0 and 1 should be followers. 0 becomes candidate first. It gets elected as normal. And then it sends append entries. Okay, so 0's been elected leader. But the problem with 0 is that it only has 101 in its log. Right? Why? Why was 0 elected leader despite only having 101 in its log? I think that's a mistake. Because surely, 1 is still available. And both 1 and 2 correctly committed. We have some output statements here saying 1 and 2 both correctly committed 102 in index 2. That's what we expect. So 0 should not be getting elected the leader because the term is incorrect on its last term. As in, the last entry in its log is 101, and it has term... what does it have in its log? Well, actually, we can tell here. At the point where 0 is disconnected... Oh, no, we can't, sorry. We get a snapshot here at the points where 1 and 2 crash. We get a snapshot of what was in their logs. So, term 1, 101, and 102. And the leader in term 1 was 1, right? So 0 should have this thing, just 1 and 101. But then, 0 as the leader ends up picking up this and committing it in its log in the wrong position. And that then overwrites the log of 1, which ends up outputting 1. No, but that's fine. Outputting 1, because 1 restarted, it's totally fine if it outputs 1 again. The problem is here, 1 outputs 2, and it outputs a different thing, and so the test fails. Okay, I understand. This is completely consistent with how I think my program works. Well, except for the fact that I don't believe 0 should be getting elected, because, like I was saying here, I think that 1 and 2 both have, term 1, 102 in their log, right? Whereas 0's log looks like this. And 2 gets crashed and not restarted. But 1 has been restarted, which means 1 is back and its log still looks like this, because hopefully persistence means that I managed to save the entire log correctly. Okay, so a potential bug is that the persister didn't save the log correctly, or at all. So possibly, the log length of 1 did not get saved. 1 did not actually get persisted correctly. But considering the first 2 tests on persistence passed, I don't think that's what the problem is. So that is a possible bug. that the persister didn't actually save the entire log, even after like the application, the apply. So I guess we can introspect that by just putting some print debug statements. You know, when something is started and once persistence is done, print what is the state of the log. That would be good, right? Obviously, you can't run the persister in the kill function, right? Save state at the point where it's killed. I don't think that's allowed. Because the kill could just be like, you know, you unplug the server in the wall, and so it's not always going to run the kill function when it gets killed, obviously. Even though it ends up, the kill is just a thing for the tester. I don't know, I feel like that's a way of cheating the test, but I'm not going to do that because it makes no conceptual sense as to what we're trying to do. You know, there's not in the real world, there's not going to be always a kill function being run when something crashes. It could just get unplugged from the wall. So we can't just delete all the calls to save state and put in a save state in the kill function, which would be funny. It would probably just reject. The test would probably just fail for some reason if I did that. Okay. Right. So I think request vote needs more information. We need more in the print statement here. So here I'm printing, okay, the voters index term, candidate index term. But what I want to do is, you know, print the outcome of the vote in a bit more detail. So well, I don't need to do that because I already have this print statement here which says voter index term, candidate index term. So let's just look at that. I don't need to look any further. So the point is I'm not happy that 0 is getting elected. 0 should not be getting elected here. So you can see it here. 1 is 0 is requesting a vote from 2, but 2 does not exist. I mean, 2 has been disconnected or crashed or something. Who knows? So 0 requests a vote from 1. So this is what happens. Voter, so 1 has an empty log. It says index 0 and term 0. So 1 has an empty log. Whereas the candidate has one thing in its log. And so it gets resurrected. Okay, the persister's not working. That's what the problem is. Because there's no way that server 1, which is voting here, because this is the only request vote that's happening here, because 2 has been disconnected. So if you look at this, you know, this corresponds to these, which means that 0 is the candidate, 1 is the voter, and there's no way that 1 has nothing in its log. Okay. Live, camera, action. That means that persistence is not working correctly. Okay, so what I am going to test is I'm going to put in a print statement here in make, which is the initializer function. Where it says here read persist, I'm going to put in like a loaded function saying, you know, initialize. So it's going to be, I should have a print debug statement here, shouldn't I? Saying, oh right, no, it's because okay, I ran a phase change to follower. I mean, I'm happy for the phase change to follower to happen here because while the server is loading, it should do a phase change to follower and then read from persistent state. Okay, let's just rf.me loaded state colon, and then we just dump all of the variables. So current term equals voted for equals log, and I'm going to print the entire log. Yes, yes. So now after the persister has read, I'm going to have a statement saying that I have in fact loaded correctly. Right, so this is all saved, and I'm ready to just run the test again to see if that happens. You know, part of me is anticipating possibly that what's wrong here is that this thing is being asked for a vote before it's had time to load state, which is, I guess, a possibility. Maybe the phase change should only happen after read persist. But at what point? No, surely make. I mean, the server does not exist until the make function returns a reference to it, right? I would have thought it returns a reference to a Raft object, the make function, and so we should be safe here. Read persist should be synchronous, and so we should not have loaded the server and have returned the reference to it before this print statement and the persistence is done. Okay. So I'm looking for a load statement. Do you see a load statement? So one restarts and reconnects. It should be running make. It should say, okay, it becomes a follower. Where is my load statement? I don't see it. Do you see load? Huh? I mean, it's in here. So I run rf.phaseChange to follower. What does this code do? This should be run asynchronously anyway, so this should be run after that anyway. I shouldn't. Well, you have the problem here that there is a possible lock. Okay, to me personally, the phase change I think really should be run afterwards. I don't buy that. You know, this is still initialization code, so it runs before the object is returned, but I think the persistence should come first. Let's see if that helps. Because I don't know why this was not printing. Who knows? Still not printing. You know, I have my print debug statement and it's not printing my state load for some reason. So again, we're looking at the precise bit of code we're looking for is here where you see like lag camera. Here where you see the so again 0 is requesting votes from 1. Oh god, this is not reloaded, has it? Don't save. Okay, I have a new copy. Is the loaded statement coming up now? Yes, it is. Loaded state, loaded state, loaded state, all good. In the beginning, there was a bunch of loads. And then 0, at the point where it reconnects and has loaded you can see here 0 crashes with a log that looks like this and the commit index of 2. But when it's reloaded, it gets loaded with 0 nil, which isn't bad, isn't it? Yeah, I think the persistence function is not working. How do I debug that? Do I just put in the persist function a statement that I persisted my state? I guess that's the most basic thing that I could do is that. So let's just do that. Saved state. And this is going not in read persist, this should be going in persist. Alright, plus work. Alright, so we have a few save statements, as you can see. They are creeping in. Creeping. There's a test, I've isolated where the bug is. Here, the log should not look like this. The persister is just not saving state at all. And the log should definitely be being saved. This is something that just crossed my mind. Oh yeah, as in the voter is yeah, because we don't have an up-to-date voter. So it's giving precedence to somebody else. One is the voter, and so we need it to have the newest log. When one crashes, it has an up-to-date log with everything in it, and then it loads state and it has nothing in it. Do you see? Okay, where did one last save state? So I'm looking for a statement that says one saved. Hello? Does one save at all? It does in like the very beginning of the code. Oh wait, no, this is after, sorry. When one is a follower, it saves. But when it's a leader, it doesn't save anything. Why? So you can see here, one is a follower here. This is already way too late. So when one restarted and reconnected, the problem is before here, one had not saved anything. It had nothing in its log at this point. There was no leader available at this point, so its log was empty. So yeah, we are not persisting enough. The places where I put in my persistent statements are incorrect. As in, when one is the leader, let me step through the leader code and figure out, not step through the code, sorry, let me look at my scrap document, which says in it, scrap folder, scrap document, which says in it exactly when I am persisting, and see if I can find, from the point of view of a leader, when are things getting persisted? So the leader receiving data, I am saying, okay, don't persist when the leader receives data. But I mean, if I don't persist then do I persist anywhere else? Append entries handler does not apply to leader. Request vote handler probably doesn't apply to leader, not in this case, nor does this. So literally the only other time it can happen is during term sync. But if we look at term sync, I have literally said, I'm only doing a persist here where I'm editing my term, which means that the leader has no way of persisting. Like, it doesn't persist when it... okay, I think I kind of understand what the problem is. I'm successfully persisting situations where, current term and voted for, where those change, when there's an election shift, then I'm catching those with my persistences. I'm not persisting the log directly. I am persisting it where the follower merges the log, but where the leader adds to its own log. Because if you think about it, the only place where the leader edits its log is when it receives data. It's in the start function. When it receives data, that's the only place where the leader edits its own log, right? And what that means is that my previous reasoning is incorrect. I was saying like, okay, it's fine if the leader doesn't persist because the followers will pick it up and then they will persist. But that doesn't work because then the leader doesn't save it anywhere. It doesn't persist at any point after that. The leader commits, but committing is not persisted. So that's what I guess. That's why my brain got its wires crossed. I guess because I was thinking like commit is kind of quite final, so surely that should be persisted. But then commit index is actually not persisted according to the Raft specification. So it's a bit counterintuitive. But I'm gonna take the specification's word for it rather than questioning it. And so all that means is that basically this needs to be persisted. I'm still happy that there is no need to persist here, simply because this does get covered by this every time. So candidate votes for itself in every election, unless the election is so monged that there's some massive term clash, and then we should probably just forget that the election happened. That was my reasoning. Maybe I should persist that as well, but who knows? MIT is saying persist every time there is an edit to any of those variables, and this is precisely where the edits happen. But I'm trying to say like, oh, okay, in this position, there's no edits. Okay, actually, just 1 second. I'll mute the microphone. Sorry, just had a quick chat with my mum through the door. She's just going to sleep, and so I don't know, made some plans. I did say I'm only streaming for another 15 minutes, but that's about as long as I was ever going to stream, 1.5 hours, and so that's cool. Live, camera, Mico. Alright, sick. So, yeah, with that in mind, I am persisting on start. So, Raft start. Start should in principle be returning fast, but it's already not returning that fast if you think about it, and so let's just put in a call to persist. Persist implicitly always assumes that we have access to the state variables, which is cool. It does assume that, and that makes sense because persist is only ever going to be called within a lock, in positions where something was edited, and so it makes sense not to take another lock within persist. Just have that assumption that persist is only ever to be run within a lock. So let's do a persistence. Persist should be happening here. Don't know what's going on with my accent. I'm all like here. I have that posh accent today. Alright, well, this should fix the code. Let's see if it works. Well, it seems to go a lot further, and it seems to pass as well. So, easy. That's literally it. All I'm going to do now is test out as I was testing out before part 2C. Another thing I wanted to mention is that there are still some problems with apply errors, and this, I don't think my code is that safe against things mistakenly committing, recommitting. But I'm not sure Raft itself is safe against that, because if it's not storing commit indices in any way, then it can easily do an apply and then redo an apply with like the wrong data because the data just got rewritten from scratch if everyone crashes. But at the same time, it doesn't violate the Raft specification. Maybe something to think about later, but I won't dwell on it for now. Just do a bit of testing and see how it goes. Why? Ding. This test takes like 12 seconds, is it? Let's go. If this fails now, that would be sad. No, that also passed after like 23 seconds. This passed pretty. Figure eight. Lol. There's a test called figure eight, and I don't even know what figure eight is. It's not helpful. It's probably some obscure obscenity of a test. Don't forget, the code so far, all the tests so far run in about. The Part B tests are 41 seconds, Part A is about 15 max. So the testing so far is 1 minute 20. 25 maybe. And I think there's supposed to be sub 4 in total. I don't know. Test 4 here is taking a while, and I have no idea what it's doing. It passed after 40 seconds. This is probably going to fail, let's face it, because we have all those apply errors. Unreliable, passed. Figure 8, unreliable version. Another 40 seconds. Let's go. The final tests. The final tests. MIT. I wonder how good MIT's tests are in and of themselves. If this means that my Raft algorithm is good to go on the shelf. Probably not. Probably not. Let's face it. I'm gonna load. I don't want to load Pokemon Go because it'll run out of. It'll run out of memory probably. Alright, well, unreliable figure 8 failed. Interesting. After 40 seconds, there was actually a failure to get consensus. These tests are, I mean, they test like highly unstable conditions, so I can understand that. Debugging tests that take 40 seconds before failing is going to be a nightmare. There's just going to be so much output to flick through. I might have to actually start filtering the output somehow, disabling some of the print statements. Well, I still think we're doing well. See, we managed to pass like 5 tests for Part C out of 8, and now some of the hardcore ones are failing for some reason. Failed to reach agreement. God knows why. The fact that it says 8180 probably means it sent in like 818 things. Dear Lord. 818 things? More like 81, and then I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what's going on? And I have no idea what figure 8 is. I'll check that later. Probably like next sesh. Oh, when is the next sesh going to be? I did say tomorrow 9 p.m, but I think I'm going to pass on that just because tomorrow I'm going to get a bit busy. Then I have the carnival if I go at all. If I don't, cool, but if I go, I have that, and then I'm not sure I'll be up for it in Monday evening either. But so it might be a good time for a break actually. How long is this taking? Dear Lord. Eventually it will tell me if it passed or failed. Yeah. So I mean, with that in mind, the next session is going to be Monday evening. I think I'm going to try Monday evening. If that doesn't work out, Tuesday. It's going to have to be Tuesday, I guess. Tuesday morning. I think that's fair enough. I mean, I'll give myself a little bit of a break because I have like a crap ton of debugging ahead of me, and so I'm totally cool with taking a bit of a break. And also, I actually have a test to do for an interview, so there is also that. So yeah, I'll just take a break on this project until Tuesday. Say Tuesday evening. May as well edit this in while I'm waiting for this godforsaken test to finally come through. I'm gonna do. Do you know what I'm gonna do? Oh, fuck off. I'm gonna do Tuesday 12 p.m. I'm gonna again try to do a nice afternoon sesh. I kind of get back to work in 2.5 days off. So that gives me tomorrow and the day after off. But that's cool. Oh, this is still going. How? How is it still going? Okay, what are the benchmarks here? Well, it says that things should be going a lot faster than they are for starters. You can see 4.9 seconds, 23.2, 17, 2.4, 1.4. It's a bit slow. 40, 33, 7.7, 2.4. Lol. My code is slow. But then, figure 8 unreliable. Oh, reliable figure 8 takes 34. Yeah. Okay. And then, yeah, figure 8 unreliable, like, Ch- oh, okay. Figure 8 is also, this test is also taking about the same time. It's just this one. It says 16, it says 16.2, but it's just still going. I wonder if it's just completely hung. This test is just not ending. What the hell is going on? Is Visual Studio Code, is the terminal starting to freeze? I think it's okay, but what? What on earth? So we have an infinite test, a test that never ends. Amazing. I waited so long. I could not wait any longer. Uh, these are the final tests, the hard shit. Um, so yeah, test 2C7 churn, that's the one that is just not finishing. Ever. Yeah. Okay, so tests, basically where we are is tests 1 to 5 seem to be passing. Are tests 1 to 5 reliably passing? I think that'll be the last thing I check. Are those tests reliably passing? I'm just gonna leave churn alone. I mean, bloody hell, if it takes a long time, then so be it. Who knows what's happening here? Why it's taking so long? I'm just staring at this like, Liz. Let's just run 2C 1 up to 5 a few times. It is a bit slow. It's a bit slower than MIT's optimized code or whatever. 4 minutes of real time is how long these tests should take. Yeah, this one that takes 20 seconds, well, it's just a long test. It's a long test. Hmm. Do you know what? Once these tests like pass or whatever for the second time, I'm just gonna stop. I can't be bothered to sit through any more of this. I'm just gonna. I'll call it quits for today. I'll call it quits for the time being, and just come back to it. Um, yeah, this will fail after 40 seconds again, probably. Come back to it on Tuesday morning. Will be good. And yeah, I am just doing a full-on debug of the entire project. It's gonna be crazy. Just trying to get it to pass the tests, pretty much. And I might even do some optimizing, some stress testing where I run tests like millions of times. I don't know, not millions, but maybe hundreds, if I can find a way of automating it. And also like maybe trying to make it a bit faster. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, the big debug, the big final debug starts tomorrow. Alright, you know what? I'll run this one more time. Oops. I'll run this one more time, but I'll just do other stuff in the meantime. Yep. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna leave it there. So okay, let's do a commit. This is session 25. I'll git push later when this is done. And yeah, no, nothing else to talk about. I'm just gonna jump off the stream, jump back on Tuesday at 12 p.m. I've just edited that in now. Having passed, I've passed test 3, so I've done some good work today. I've passed test 1 through to 5. Good, good. A little bit of debugging, we started it, but fundamentally, yeah, the big debug starts on Tuesday. Get hype. Hyped in advance. That's what you want to be. Trust me. Trust. Yeah, that's it. So I'll just wait for this to finish and then I'll leave. Thanks Visual Studio for being shit. Look at this scrolling speed. Yeah, these tests have passed 3 times in a row. And this one is going to fail in another 40 seconds, but I mean, it's failed twice in a row. I don't need to test it again. Sick. Okay. Git push. Yep. Without further ado, that's it. Slightly dull session, I guess, but I did fix that bug. I fixed many bugs so far. That one wasn't particularly interesting, but it's all good. I'll continue with the big, arduous as fuck debug starting on Tuesday. Tuesday at 12 p.m. The entire project starts to get debugs, and then Raft. That's Raft. We're done after all that. After all that gets done, we've done all of the doing for the entire project, all the implementation, all the sketching. Just got to debug it and figure out those little misconceptions, errors, and all that stuff. So, thank you. I'll see you then, guys.